Okay, so let's take a look at how you can install MariaDB server on Azure virtual machines. So first thing, we'll log into Azure Cloud, and then you can create a resource or click on virtual machine from your dashboard. Alternatively, click on all services. Then we will go to compute, and there we find our option for virtual machine. Now the thing is, we will have to click on virtual machine option, where we can click on create, and that will create Azure virtual machine. And we will add configurations that match for MariaDB. So there is a DevNami stack that we can use for MariaDB, right? So here I'm starting with subscription, then pick the resource group, then let's type in, right, let's add region. Now let's change the security type to standard and then go search for images. Now we have to check for DevNami stack here by typing in DevNami. Then next thing would be we are going to search for things. Once we do that, we can see that you have to filter out by category called databases so that it will narrow down the search. Let's take a look at MariaDB option, and here you see MariaDB package by DevNami, and pick that as a selection. Once you select that, it will make the change here 64-bit image. Our size of VM is 1 vCPU 1 GB memory, and here next we will take a look at authentication type. So in my case I will be using SSH key. Right now, next thing, we will add username. Here by default it has given us Azure user, so that's fine as well. Next I will let it choose the key source and key pair name. Let's move to disks, and we will choose HDD, standard HDD, so that we can reduce the cost. Then make sure to check delete with VM and also set the platform manage key. Now in networking tab, we are going to take a look at virtual network. Subnet public IP auto generated for us. Also NIC group set to advanced. And then delete public IP NIC when VM is deleted option is also checked. Load balancing option is unchecked. We are going to keep it that way. Now here in management tab, I'm going to check Azure Active Directory option as grayed out here, so we can't do much. So we move on, keeping things default to monitoring tab. Now here you see alert. We are not going to check this because we don't need alerts and notification. There is also diagnostic option where you can see we are not going to enable with managed storage option either. Now let's move on to advanced tab, where you can see extension you can add, so that once VM is deployed you will see the extension. There is also VM applications that you have that can be preloaded once you have your deployment, right? Rest of the things from advanced tab I'm going to keep it for default, not going to touch them. So let's move on to tags. Here you can organize your resource group by using tags for virtual machine and the resources. Next we will review and create so that we can validate our options, and then we move on to the next phase, which is deployment. Notice that DevNami's MariaDB stack is free, no charges. However, you will be paying the charges for creating the VM, and it's hourly charge. Even if you run this for 10 minutes or so, the charge of 0.8 will be applicable to you. Right? Go through the all details. You can click previous in case if anything requires changing. Now we will click on create, which will trigger the SSH key generation, and it will be asking us to download. So we will download that, and you can see here. The key is available here. Now what we do is we will let it go for deployment. As you can see, it is going to deployment page as well. Once it moves there, we can wait for it to go to our dashboard, because we need some of the things like IP address, public IP address for that matter, because party SSH requires that. Now let's open File Explorer and go to desktop, where we have this key file that we just downloaded. I'm going to take that to one of my keys folder and going to paste it there. Meanwhile, there is a partition exe which has this import key option. I will point the currently downloaded .pem file to that. Then I will use private key option. I will type in maria.ppk as private key and maria.pub for public file. Now once we have these two things done, I will go back to our deployment. Currently it is in process, so let's wait. Now click on go to resource. Now let's take a look at our dashboard for that public IP address. Notice that whenever you get the error like the agent is not ready, at that time just click on stop or click on restart, right? Meanwhile I can copy the IP address, but let's restart and let it give some time. Once it does the restarting, you can also reload the tab after that, because often what happens is that it continues to show you this status and you won't get the idea whether agent is ready or not. So just refresh the tab as well once you do the restart. Like I mentioned, once you do the restart of VM, also you reload the tab, the agent issue doesn't appear. So that's my case. So I will just open this public IP address copy sign. Next, let's click on part.exe. Let's add your IP address here and type in the session name. Also go to SSH auth credential, find ppk file and access it here. Now go to session, save this and click open so that you can connect. Now here you have to click on accept, as this security alert requires you to do that. Now type in Azure user and hit enter. Now you are authenticated into DevNami's MariaDB stack. Now here you can typically set everything up with your host name. For this I suggest checking out your DevNami's documentation for MariaDB, which port to handle and all that. So based on that, make changes, right? So now everything is set up. We will hit exit. Now what I will do is I will move to connect option in Bastion so that I can verify another connect method, which is through Bastion here. So though our goal has met, we will also take a look at Bastion option. So click deploy Bastion so that it can create virtual network and IP address for you. So deploy this, and now it will take a few moments to create Bastion option for you. So let's wait for that. Okay, now you can see the Bastion being deployed. I can enter the Azure user as username. Then for authentication, I will link to SSH private key file, which is our .pem file, right? Which is originally downloaded from this dashboard itself. Now click connect. It will open a new tab and it will give access to our server, right? So it feels like a video, but it's basically your terminal access. As you can see here, you can even type in commands like lsp_release -a and check your distro. Here you already have MariaDB and we validated that. You just have to change your IP address and that host name part. Once you adjust that according to BitNami's documentation. You can set your database and then begin working on MariaDB database server.